roll it, right? No?
I'm ready. Will the meeting please come to order? Will all members of the council, as well as the public, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation this evening will be offered by Pastor Michael Joyner from the Greater Faith Missionary Baptist Church. He's the guest of Council Member Nick Leonardo.
Let us pray. Oh God, how we thank you for this day, how we thank you for this council, how we thank you for this city of Nashville. We continue in prayer, God, for the city of Nashville, both in every aspect of life. We thank you for the growth of Nashville. We thank you for the spirit of Nashville. We thank you for the friendliness of Nashville. We thank you for Nashville as a whole. Now we pray for those that represent us throughout this city, that you will both be with them, guide them, and lead them in positive ways, that they will represent us well and make this city that's already great even greater. We pray, God, for the officers that patrol our streets and protect us at nighttime, that you will watch over them. The entire police department, pray for our chief as he show leadership to them. We thank you for each and every resident here. We thank you for the job opportunities that have come this way. We thank you that we are a thriving city, and we ask you now that you will continue to keep your hands upon us, that we will continue to do the will of God, and we will draw closer to you. And this is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of those members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for adoption of the minutes of September 15th, 2017? Without objection, those minutes will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
No, Mr. Vice Mayor, there are no messages from the mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we do presentations tonight, I would like to acknowledge 2 deaths in the extended council family. Council Lady Gilmore is not here tonight. Her grandmother has passed away. Councilman Member John Cooper is with us tonight, and his mother, Hortense Cooper, who reached the age of 98 and a half, I believe, passed away yesterday, I believe, as well. So I hope you'll keep both those council members in your thoughts and prayers. We do have 2 presentations. Council Lady Henderson, would you like to go first?
The gathering. Thank you for your patience. We're here to acknowledge Resolution RS 2017858, a resolution recognizing and congratulating the Nashville Public Library, its patrons, staff, board members, supporters, and volunteers for being awarded the Library Journal's 2017 Library of the Year. Will the staff please stand? The staff please stand. All right. Whereas in 1897, the Tennessee General Assembly passed the Library Law, which authorized cities of 20,000 or more to establish and maintain free public libraries and reading rooms, and whereas Nashville Public Library was established in 1898 and was then known as the Howard Library, and
Whereas Nashville Public Library now has 21 locations across the city, over 350 employees, more than 500 volunteers, and serves over 680,000 Davidson County residents. And
whereas on June 6, 2017, Nashville Public Library was named the Library of the Year by the Library Journal magazine, which described Nashville Public Library as a model for the nation and the world. And whereas an awards judge described Nashville Public Library as a champion of diversity and inclusiveness and a literacy gladiator. And
whereas Nashville Public Library has broad engagement with the local school system and renowned educational initiatives, such as the Early Reading Outreach Program, Bringing Books to Life, and the Student Accessibility Program, Limitless Library, both of which are unique in the United States. And
whereas Nashville Public Library is distinct in having Wishing Chair Productions, its own resident puppet troupe and puppet truck program, which proudly provides Tom Titchener's 79-year-old puppet legacy. And whereas in 2008, Nashville's first International Puppet Festival, held at the main library, reached over 15,000 children and adults, and is now one of the library's most popular programs. And
whereas Nashville Public Library is home to the Civil Rights Room and Collection, a space that houses a collection of 150 oral histories, photographs, periodicals, manuscripts, and news accounts. And whereas the Civil Rights Room and Collection is accessible to all Nashvillians and was created to preserve and honor the stories of local and national civil rights pioneers, as well as provide a forum for conversations about current civil rights issues and complex community dynamics. And
whereas much of Nashville Public Library's strength and vitality comes from the community that has embraced it, including the Friends of Nashville Public Library, as well as individual and corporate members of the community who support Nashville Public Library generously through the Nashville Public Library Foundation, whose public-private partnerships enable the library to find innovative ways to meet community needs, to offer these services and resources at no cost to local families, and to reach even more of Nashville's students, families, and lifelong learners. And
whereas Nashville Public Library helps meet challenges and the opportunities we all face as a growing city, as demonstrated through its other notable programs and services such as Studio NPL, NPL Boombox, as well as health literacy, adult education, and digital literacy efforts. And
whereas it is fitting and proper that the Metropolitan Council recognizes Nashville Public Library for its momentous achievement and honors the library's continuous commitment to community education and engagement, fulfilling its mission to inspire reading, advance learning, and connect our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, the Metropolitan Council hereby goes on record as recognizing Nashville Public Library, its patrons, staff, board members, supporters, and volunteers for their hard work and achievement of the Library Journal's 2017 Library of the Year Award. And the Metropolitan Council is directed to prepare a copy of this resolution to be presented to Library Director Kent Oliver, that this resolution shall take effect from and after its adoption, the welfare of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County requiring it. Director Oliver, if you would say a few words.
Well, we'd like to thank the council. The reason we won this award is because of the people that are standing at the back of the room and several hundred who were not able to make it here tonight. One of the things we hear in Nashville is, we've heard for years, is that we have a wonderful library. But it's so nice to receive validation, not only from our daily patrons and folks that stop in, but from the rest of the country. So this is a big deal for us. In addition to being joined by the staff in the back, we have part of our library board with us, Katie Varney, Joyce Searcy, Robert Orman, and our president, Keith Simmons. And I think Keith would just like to say a couple of brief words.
Well, I echo what Kent said. We appreciate this recognition. It means a lot to get a national award, but it means, in some ways, so much more to get recognition from you. I just want to make 2 points. One, I can tell you from personal knowledge that libraries all across the country have transformed themselves from places where you keep books into places that are vital, necessary, vibrant parts of the community doing tremendous work in their outreach to all people in the community. To be the best of that group, to be the best of the best, is just a tremendous honor. And in my wildest dreams, when I started with the library years ago, I never thought we would be the library of North America, but we are. And my second point is, we on the board and the staff, the friends, the foundation, we feel your support, and I thank you for it. I look around this room, and universally, I see people who have been wonderful friends to us as we try to do our work at the library. And let me tell you, we are in sync with what you're trying to do. We had a board meeting today. It was education, and you've heard all the other things that we do. But we have so many programs going. We appreciate so much your support. We appreciate the resources that you provide us. We hope you'll continue to provide them in ever more largesse. And I just want to thank you for that support.
Did we do good? Did we do good, Mom? We do okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Councilman Hager.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Y'all come on up, Sergeant Denton, all the crossing guards. Come over here and pride more. You get up here too.
No, I'll stand behind him. I'll stand behind him.
He's photogenic.
You gotta get him. You're right back, all right? Right back.
Everybody ready? All right. Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm here today to present a resolution recognizing the Metro Police School Crossing Guard Division. This is resolution number RS 2017-857. Whereas the Metro Police Crossing Guard Division has been responsible for the safekeeping of our children and pedestrians in school zones throughout Metro and Davidson County since 1951. The division currently covers 94 public schools on a daily basis and is comprised of approximately 202 guards and 200 school zones. Whereas the crossing guards' mission is to create the safest environment possible for the children in these intersections and thoroughfares, and whereas school crossing guards must commit themselves to the highest degree of professionalism and responsibility to achieve these results while serving the public and escorting our children safely across the street, reporting license numbers of reckless drivers and suspicious activity to the police department. And whereas school crossing guards put their lives in jeopardy daily as there are reports of them getting hit by motorists, and whereas it is fitting and proper that the Metropolitan Council recognize the Metro Police School Crossing Guard Division for the significant impact that they have made and continue to make for the school districts citywide. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, that we go on record as recognizing the Metro Police School Crossing Guard Division. The Metropolitan Council is directed to prepare a copy of this resolution to be presented to the Metro Police School Crossing Guard Division. The resolution shall take effect from and after its adoption, the welfare of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County requiring it. And I want to present this to Sergeant Denton. He can say a few words, but we all appreciate what they do for us, our families, our children, and everyone. And I can say that when I go through the school crossing areas, I'm very proud to see what a good job they really do. We appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Well, thank you again. Thank you, Mr. Hager, Councilman Hager, for pushing this forward. This was initially started by Officer Kevin Cooley. I won't go into the long details, but he was with the Crossing Guard Division and recently passed away because of cancer. So his last request to me was this was something he was working on. He said, you've got to keep this going forward. So this was his passion. He loved the Crossing Guard Division, and he wanted to make sure y'all were recognized, and that was great. So thank you again. Ms. Orsman, she had a huge part in this, so y'all have no idea what the crossing guards go through on a daily basis, and as they stand here, their shoes are still wet from their shift this afternoon. They do put up with a lot, but they're passionate about their job. They refer to the children as their children, and so they deserve this and more, but thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a roll. But y'all hold that. Y'all hold that. Y'all are fine. You can go in first.
No, you're doing such a good job.
Good job. Help yourself.
You're going to keep it up. If you don't keep it up, you're going to goose you while you take a picture.
Thank you again.
Councilman Anthony Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just wanted to briefly recognize, and if they'll stand and let us recognize them, we have Scout Troop 262 from Dalewood United Methodist in Inglewood. Mike Williams is their leader. If we would recognize them real quick. Working on a couple of merit badges, and commend them for being here. Hopefully we don't let them down. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman. All right, let's move on to our agenda. Council Lady Haywood, did you consider the proposed rule changes?
Yes. The Rules Committee reviewed the rules changes, and at this time, Mr. Mike Jamison will.
Let's get a motion. Do you,
Okay. Okay. I'd like to move that we approve the rule changes.
There's a motion and a second. Mr. Jamison, you have a brief
The Rules Committee considered changes to 4 rules pursuant to Rule 51, Rules 11, 15, 17, and 28. At its heart, the proposed rules would make 2 significant changes. The first would alter the timeline for the council's work on capital improvements budget. You would be submitting your requests by October 15th. You would receive from Planning Department a report regarding their cost, compliance with the general plan, fiscal notes by December 1st, and then you would submit them and vote on them in compliance with the charter deadlines as usual by June 15th. The second significant change would be altering consideration of the capital spending plan. It would not be considered at any point when the annual operating budget ordinance is before this council. And those are the changes.
Councilman Elrod.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. A question, is there any way, I don't know what instance there would be, this would happen, to add something to the capital improvements budget during the year? Could there be a suspension of the rules to do such?
Yes.
It would take 27 votes?
Correct. You will retain the right to suspend the rules.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Councilman Shulman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Just to check on the, in terms of submitting capital improvement budget amendments, we're keeping it at October the 15th?
Correct. That'll be a slight hiccup in this year's rules because the rules, even if approved tonight, don't go into effect for 30 days. And this being September 19th would kick us past October 15th. We anticipate on Thursday of this week, after a brief meeting with planning, that we'll have some suggestions on the formatting of those requests. Each of you will get a letter from our budget chair, Council Lady Vercher, requesting that you submit your requests by October 15th.
Right. Thank you for making that clear. The other thing that I'd like to point out is that a lot of work went into this by Council Lady Weiner, who did most of the majority of the legwork on this. I know she worked with a number of people from the mayor's office and the finance department, but I'd like to appreciate her work. She did a really, really good job on this. Thank you.
You stole my thunder, Councilman. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Two questions on timing. I had raised an issue last night about newly elected council members and that being somewhat of a short timeline. And Mr. Jameson, you had informed me that we didn't have to have all the information that we typically have gathered. We just need to have the name of the project. Can you expound on that just a little bit?
That is correct. So the concern was raised that with newly elected council members, or particularly those that might be in a runoff who aren't elected until September, as we have one tonight, that October 15th was a bit of a short timeline. What they'll be submitting, however, is merely the request. Council Lady Allen is unique in council members is that she submits her requests together with compilation of costs, compliance information. That's not something all council members have the ability to do and typically can't within the May to June deadline. So this process is designed to allow council members simply to submit the request. We will, I think planning will beg you to submit them with some clarity. If you say, I want a park or I want a sidewalk, they may press for more information. But otherwise, it'll give you the time to get that information from planning rather than the other way around.
Thank you. I'll get you back for that. One other question. If stuff was, things that have already been in last year's capital improvement budget, are they automatically rolled through or do we have to reiterate all of those?
No, they're rolled through.
So this is just the new things?
Correct.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
Councilman Sledge.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I had a question based on the analysis. It says that the request would be prioritized at a joint committee meeting. Is there a timeline or deadline set for that joint?
We'll get the report information from planning by December 1st, and the previous version of the rule had our deadline to submit the prioritized list by January 15th. So we would be meeting sometime between December 1st and January 15th. That deadline is now removed to provide you a little bit more flexibility, but that's a joint meeting between budget and planning.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Thank you.
No one else seeking recognition. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Council Lady Weiner, for your work on that. That brings us to elections and confirmations. Our first election is the Industrial Development Board. Just so I think I understand our process, but just to make sure I completely have it down and all you get it down as well, I'm going to ask Mr. Jameson if he will briefly describe the process.
Rule 43 is the rule that governs IDB elections. Because you have more nominees than positions, you will vote on each position of the three at a time. The rule provides that the majority winner, even if it's under 21, prevails, while the 21 vote getter wins. Then you move on to the next position. The person you've just selected is removed, and the remaining candidates are considered automatic candidates for the second position, and so forth until all positions are filled. And let them, that's your discretion. Yeah. They've already been made. So,
thank you, Mr. President. Is it not correct that if more than one member gets more than 21 votes, more than a majority on the first round, that person is also elected?
That is true.
Okay. Thank you.
They would automatically be the high vote getter as well.
That's right.
All right, Madam Clerk, we can proceed if you'll. The nominations were previously made at our prior meeting. Let me go to Council Lady Haywood just to make sure that all of the 4 nominees met the qualifications.
Yes, thank you, Chair, Vice Mayor. We have as nominees Ms. Christina Allen, 8-0 approved. And we have Ms. Lindsay Cox. She was approved, 8-0. And we have Ms. Ginger Hauser, 8-0, and Ms. Solita Holloway, 8-0. They were all approved.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Without objection, we'll proceed to the initial vote. We have 4 nominees. Madam Clerk, if you'll open the machine. Each council member will be voting for 1 on this vote. Councilman Roden. I believe that's everyone. Madam Clerk, if you'll close the machine and tally the vote.
Council member vote for a number of nominees.
What's the total number of vacancies? So we should be voting for 3 people.
I'm sorry, Madam Clerk. There you go.
1 vote for Christina Allen, 8 votes for Lindsay Cox, 18 votes for Ginger Hauser, 7 votes for Solita Holloway.
Congratulations, Council Lady Hauser. You are first elected. We will now proceed to the second round.
Okay.
Well, as soon as the clerk has the opportunity to recalibrate. This time we'll have 3, and each council member again will vote for 1. Madam Clerk, if you'll close the machine and tally the vote. I'm sorry, Councilman O'Connell? Okay. Madam Clerk?
4 votes for Christina Allen, 21 votes for Lindsay Cox, 9 votes for Solita Holloway.
Congratulations, Ms. Cox. Then we have 1 more vote. You ready?
Activate it.
Councilman Mendez. Madam Clerk, if you'll close the machine and tally the vote.
20 votes for Christina Allen, 14 votes for Solita Holloway.
Congratulations, Ms. Allen. That brings us to the report from the Rules and Confirmations Committee. Council Lady Haywood.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We have the Agricultural Extension Board, and we have the reappointment of Mr. Mark Kasich for a term expiring August the 1st of 2020. He was confirmed 7-0. We have the reappointment of Dr. Thelma Sanders Hunter for a term expiring August the 1st of 2020, and the vote was 8-0.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You've heard the motion for confirmation of Mr. Mark Kursky and Dr. Thelma Sanders Hunter to the Agricultural Extension Board. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Councilor Haywood.
Yes, next we have the Community Correction Advisory Board. We have the appointment of Mr. Mike Engel for a term expiring August the 31st of 2019, and the vote was 8-4 and 0 against. Then we had Ms. Charlotte Mann, and that one is deferred until October the 3rd. The appointment of Ms. Alicia Overby for a term expiring August the 31st, 2019, 8-4 and 0 against. Then we have the appointment of Ms. Jackie Shargo for a term expiring August the 31st, 2019, 8-4 and 0 against.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You've heard the motion for confirmation of Mr. Mike Engel, Ms. Alicia Overby, and Ms. Jackie Shrego to the Community Corrections Advisory Board. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Councilor Haywood.
Next, we have the Historical Commission, the reappointment of Ms. E. Minnie Bell for a term expiring August the 10th of 2021. The vote was 8-4 and 0 against. The reappointment of Dr. C. Williams McKee for a term expiring August the 10th, 2021, 8-4 and 0 against.
You've heard the motion for confirmation of Ms. E. Minnie Bell and Dr. C. William McKee to the Historical Commission. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Councilor Haywood.
Next, we have the Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency. We have the reappointment of Ms. Minimia Bashir, and it means freely giving. That's what her name means, to give freely. I love that. For a term expiring August the 10th of 2021, and the vote was 7-4 and 0 against.
Thank you, Councilor. You've heard the motion for confirmation of Ms. Minima Bashir to the Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency. It's been properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Councilor.
Okay.
We would like to recognize those citizens who were confirmed tonight. So if you will please stand as I call your name and remain standing until I've recognized everyone. I would appreciate it. To the Industrial Development, no, all right, I guess we're not going to recognize them. Well, they've already had plenty of recognition. To the Agricultural Extension Board, Mr. Mark Kursky. And Dr. Thelma Sanders Hunter. To the Community Corrections Advisory Board, Mr. Mike Engel, Ms. Alicia Overby, Ms. Jackie Shrego. To the Historical Commission, Ms. E. Minnie Bell and Dr. C. William McKee. And to the Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency, Ms. Minima Bashir. On behalf of the citizens of Davidson County, the Metropolitan Council, and all of our government, we do appreciate your willingness to serve, to volunteer your time, and put your shoulder to the wheel. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
If he wants to clean up the roll. What's he want? Somebody's got some sort of trick, like the automatic runoff voting or whatever. Council members, we now will take the opportunity for nominations to the Health, Education, and Facilities Board. Are we doing the elections of audit? We're doing those elections right now, or nominations? Okay. We're also doing nominations to the audit board, the Planning and Zoning Committee, and Traffic and Parking Committee. Councilman Mendez.
For the Health, Education, and Facilities Board, I'd like to nominate Sarah Hanna.
Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. For the Health and Educational Facilities Board, I'd like to nominate Isaac Aday.
Councilman Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the Health and Educational Facilities Board, I'd like to nominate Chris Moth.
Councilman Pulley.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the Health, Education, and Facilities Board, I'd like to nominate Sean McGuire.
Councilor E. Murphy.
For the Health and Education Facilities Board, I'd like to nominate Blake Wilson.
Councilor Henderson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. For the Facilities Board, I would like to nominate Stephen Rosen, please.
Councilman Davis. Scott Davis, excuse me.
For the Health and Hospital Board, I'd like to nominate Dr. Sleeta Holloway, who works at Meharry Medical. Thank you. And her resume is right here.
No, I don't. This is the moment where a member of council could nominate somebody to be chair of the Planning and Zoning Committee, Traffic and Parking Committee. Reminder. Council Lady Allen.
Just waiting to see if we were doing this one item at a time. I would like to nominate to the Planning and Zoning Commission, who would also be chair of the Planning and Zoning Committee, Councilmember Fabian Bedning.
Thank you. Councilman Schulman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would move to nominate Councilman John Cooper to be on the Audit Committee. With all the things they do in the Audit Committee, drilling down to numbers and looking at all the financial aspects, I can't think of anybody else who would deserve to be on that committee. Thank you.
Councilor Weiner.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to nominate to Traffic and Parking as chair, Councilman Larry Hager.
Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to nominate Councilman at Large Mendez to the Audit Committee.
Thank you, Councilor. Anybody else? All right. We'll consider nominations closed. For those of you who nominated somebody who is not a member of the Metro Council, please make sure that you get contact information to the Metro Clerk as soon as possible. Email address would be preferable, a good email address. That brings us to resolutions on public hearing. RS 2017-863, Council Lady Roberts, exempts 51 North Taproom LLC, located at 704 51st Avenue North, from the minimum distance requirement for obtaining a beer permit. Council Lady Roberts.
I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
All those in favor of RS 2017-863, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none on either side, declare the public hearing closed. Council Lady Roberts, let's get that committee report too.
To get the committee report, Public Safety voted 4 in favor, 0 against. Public Safety.
And you move for approval.
And I move for approval.
The motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to the consent agenda. And I have way too much paper tonight. Hold on a second. Here we go. The following items are on the consent agenda tonight. RS 2017-864 and 872 through 883. 864 and 872 through 883. Any of those items need to be pulled off the consent agenda? If you bear with me, RS 2017-864. Councilman Glover, Vercher, and others authorizes the Director of Public Property to exercise an option agreement for the purchase of 2 flood-prone properties for Metro Water Services. RS 2017-872, Roten and Allrod, grants the Metro Department of Water and Sewerage Services the authority to waive grading permits for at-grade Metro Greenways trail projects and approve buffer disturbances for the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation. RS 2017-873, Councilman Elrod, exempts the construction and maintenance of water lines, sanitary sewer lines, and storm water drainage projects for the Metro Department of Water and Sewerage Services from water quality buffer requirements. RS 2017-874 authorizes NP Fifth LLC to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 410 Fifth Avenue South. RS 2017-875, Councillady Vercher, Councilman Elrod approves an application for the recycling rebate from the State of Tennessee to Metro government. RS 2017-876, Councillady Vercher, authorizes the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of James Fletcher against Metro in the amount of $8,200. RS 2017-877, Councillady Vercher, authorizes the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Sheila Keaton against Metro in the amount of $10,000. RS 2017-878, Councillady Vercher, Councillady Roberts approves an amendment to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration to the Metro Police Department for the Internet Crimes Against Children Unit. RS 2017-879, Councillady Vercher, Councillady Roberts approves an amendment to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration to the Metro Police Department to support the provision of mental health services and criminal justice system advocacy to victims of violent crime. RS 2017-880, Councillady Vercher, Roberts, and Van Reese approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Transportation to the Davidson County Sheriff's Office to provide litter pickup along state and county roads, as well as litter prevention education. RS 2017-881, Councillady Allen proclaims October 2017 as Cybersecurity Awareness Month in Nashville and Davidson County. RS 2017-882, Councillady Hurt requests and encourages greater sensitivity and decorum from national news media outlets regarding reports of juvenile deaths. RS 2017-883, Councillady Haywood elects 3 members to the Board of Directors of the Industrial Development Board. Actually, is that ready to be on the consent agenda, Madam Clerk, 883? Or should we take that? We'll wait till the end of the meeting. So we're not taking 883 right now. Committee reports. Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance met yesterday. RS 2017-864 was recommended for approval, 13 for, 0 against. RS 2017-875, 876, 877, 878, 879, 880, recommended for approval, 14 for, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilman Roten, Parks, Library, and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. We looked, the Parks, Library, and Recreation Committee looked at Resolution RS 2017871, and it was voted in favor, 7 for, 0 against. Resolution RS 2017872, 7 in favor and 0 against.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilor Lady Allen, Planning Zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, and Historical recommended approval of RS 2017-864, 10 in favor, 0 against, and of resolutions 2017-871, 874, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Council Lady. Council Lady Roberts, Public Safety. Councilman Elrod, Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Public Works recommended for approval Resolution 864. 8 in favor, 0 against, and resolutions 872, 873, 874, and 875, 8 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilor Roberts, we need a report on RS 2008-78, 89, and 880.
Public Safety voted 4 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Haywood, Rules, Confirmation, Public Elections. 881 and 882 only at this point.
881, 7-4, and 0 against.
In 882?
882 is 6-4 and 0 against.
Thank you, Council Lady. And can you move to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda after all have been reviewed and all reports have been turned in.
Thank you, Council Lady. Is there a second? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us back to RS 2017-779. Councilman Elrod amends ordinance number BL 2016-235 to increase permit fees for closures in the right-of-way permit high impact area. Councilman Elrod.
Committee reports, please.
Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance moved to defer, recommended deferral for the second meeting in December.
Thank you, Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommended deferral to the second meeting in December, 8 in favor, 0 against, and I so move with a brief explanation.
Floor is yours.
This resolution, the following two, are to attempt to increase the fees and some of the work that goes along with how Public Works handle the right-of-ways. They are in the midst of a study, or excuse me, putting out the RFP that we funded in the budget for a study to study all the right-of-way permits and fees for the right-of-way division of Public Works. That RFP has been put out. There have been 2 bidders, or they've gotten 2 proposals back that will be decided on next week. And in that study, they'll be looking at all the different types of fees, fee amounts, the costs that go into determining the fees. And when that comes back in a few months, that I'll hope to have a discussion with the Public Works to look and make sure that the fees that we have actually are equate with the work that are needed. That go into putting out those fees, that if a certain fee costs what it does to Public Works. So with that, once that study comes back, I'll be bringing these forward. We're working with Public Works on those, and I don't want to do anything. I think it'd be irresponsible for me to do anything until those come back, so I move to defer to the second meeting in December.
There's a motion to defer to the second meeting in December. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. RS 2017-780. Councilman Elrod.
Committee reports, please. I'm sorry.
Amends ordinance number BL 2016-235 to create a fee for right-of-way site management plan permit. Councilman Elrod.
Excuse me, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted 12-4, 0 against to defer second meeting in December.
Floor is yours.
Public Works recommended a deferral to the second meeting in December, 8 in favor, 0 against. So move.
There's a motion to defer to the second meeting in December. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL RS 2017-781, Councilman Elrod, requests that all fee revenue from right-of-way temporary closure permits to be used for staffing expenses and other direct costs of administering such permits. Councilman Elrod.
Committee reports, please.
Councilor Vercher.
Budget and Finance voted for 12-4-0 against to defer second meeting in December.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works made the same recommendation, and I so move. 8 in favor, 0 against.
Motion to defer to the second meeting in December is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. RS 2017-859, Councilman Schulman and Council Lady Mina Johnson. Request the Department of Public Works prepare a listing of the 20 most congested traffic areas in Nashville together with adopted or recommended interim steps to address traffic congestion on those locations. Councilman Schulman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee report, please.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommended for approval as substituted. 8 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would move the substitute.
There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You're on your resolution.
And then I'd like to move for approval of the resolution just with a brief explanation.
Floor is yours.
All right. So this is a resolution asking Public Works to work with all of us to figure out the 20 most congested traffic areas in the city. We're going to come up with a plan, have it for us by the end of October, not only with a plan to figure out where those 20 areas are, but also how to try to fix those. We added into the substitute a request that Public Works work with all members of the council, since council members are all driving all over the place, to figure out where those 20 are, to figure out what those things need to be done, or where they are, and maybe some ideas about how to fix them. So hopefully we'll have a report by the end of October. Mass transportation, I know is coming, but we have some areas that we need to start working on right now. That's the purpose of it. Thank you. Renew my motion.
This is a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. RS 2017-865 through 871 are 7 bills related to railroad crossing safety improvements. Are all to be deferred pending further information from TDOT. Without objection, I'll take all of those together. Seeing no objection, bear with me again just for a minute. RS 2017-865, Council Lady Vercher and others, approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Tennessee Department of Transportation and Metro Department of Public Works for the reimbursement of railroad crossing safety improvements at Baker Station Road. RS 2017-866, Councilman O'Connell, Vercher and others, approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Tennessee Department of Transportation and the Metro Department of Public Works for the reimbursement of railroad crossing safety improvements at 14th Avenue North. RS 2017-867, Council Lady Mina Johnson, Vercher, and others, approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Tennessee Department of Transportation and the Metro Department of Public Works for the reimbursement of railroad crossing safety improvements at Post Road. RS 2017-868, Councilman Sledge, Vercher, and others, approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Tennessee Department of Transportation and the Metro Department of Public Works for the reimbursement of railroad crossing safety improvements at Sadler Avenue. RS 2017-869, Council Lady Van Reese, Vercher, and others, approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Tennessee Department of Transportation and the Metro Department of Public Works for the reimbursement of railroad crossing safety improvements at Nesbitt Lane. RS 2017-870, Councilman Freeman, Vercher, and others, approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Tennessee Department of Transportation and the Metro Department of Public Works for the reimbursement of railroad crossing safety improvements at Old Glen Rose Avenue. All right. Let me get committee reports on those, 865 through 870. Councilor Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted to defer one meeting, 14-4-0 against, on 865, 866, 867, 868, 869, and 870.
Thank you. Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning Zone Historical recommended a one-meeting deferral for resolutions RS 2017-865 through 870.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Elrod.
On all of those resolutions, Public Works recommended the one meeting deferral, 8 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm coming back to 71. All right. Council Lady Vercher, I'm going to come back to you and ask for you to move to defer all those bills one meeting, since you have the first one.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move for deferral.
There's a motion to defer 865 through 870, one meeting. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to RS 2017-871. Council Lady Vercher, Roten, and Allen approves a grant from the Tennessee Historical Commission to the Metro Nashville Historical Commission to provide a Fort Negley cultural landscape plan. Council Lady Vercher.
Budget and Finance recommended approval, 13-4, 0 against, 1 abstention.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Councilman Roten.
Parks, Library, and Recreation Committee voted in favor, 7-4, 0 against.
Councilman Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning and Historical recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Vercher.
I move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Okay. Hold on. You're not showing up here as seeking recognition, but.
Oh, sorry, it was pushed. It must have gone
Okay,
away.
there you go.
I
Councilor
just
Lee.
need to be recorded as abstaining.
Okay, thank you. So there's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Council Lady Weiner will be recorded as abstaining. You want to hit your button? Okay, it is. Okay. All right, thank you. That gets us through our resolutions and remarkably painful experience. Oh, I'm sorry? We're going to do, okay. So we're not even done with that painful process. Not much of a consent agenda there, I'm going to say it. That does take us back to RS 2017-883. Which elects 3 members to the Board of Directors of the Industrial Development Board. Councilor Haywood.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The 3 were approved, 8 for and 0 against.
Thank you.
Move for approval.
Do we need to, is this a substitute or an amended bill? A substitute, so we need to move the substitute.
Move the substitute.
There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And the substitute inserts the 3 names of the people who were elected today.
All right.
Is there a motion? There's a motion to approve the substitute.
A motion to approve the substitute.
The bill as substituted. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Like I said, painful, painful. All right, that brings us to bills on introduction and first reading. Without objection, we'll take all those bills together. Seeing no objection, there's a motion and a proper second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to bills on second reading. Bill 2017-801, Councilman Elrod. Amends the Metro Code to require approval by the Director of the Mayor's Office of Neighborhoods and Community Engagement and the Director of Transportation and Sustainability for obstructions or excavations which close or occupy any portion of the public right-of-way in excess of 6 months. Councilman Elrod.
Committee reports, please.
Councilor Vercher.
Budget and Finance recommended approval as substituted, 14-4, 0 against. No, I'm sorry. Budget and Finance approved, 14-4, 0 against, and to re-refer the substitute to the committee.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommended approval of substitute, 8 in favor, 0 against, and make the motion on the substitute with a brief explanation.
This motion to substitute is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You're now on your bill as substituted.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The ordinance as substituted and amended now basically just requires Public Works to submit to, and I'm submit to the Metro Council a list of all of the right-of-ways that are closed for 6 months or more. In committee, Public Works said that might be a rather lengthy list, and I think that's a list that we need to know what is in there, and I guess find out what's going on in our right-of-way, particularly the projects that are closing down our right-of-way for long periods of time, and then take appropriate action. So with that, renew my motion.
Did you intend to re-refer it back to committee?
Could I ask the budget chair to, I wasn't at the committee of, yes, I'll go ahead and re-refer it to budget.
All right. There's a motion to approve on second reading and re-refer to Budget and Finance on third reading. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-802, Councilman Elrod, amends the Metro Code to revise the penalties for improper right-of-way closures and to require the Department of Public Works establish a way for the public to submit evidence of improper closures. Councilman Elrod.
Committee reports, please.
Councilor Vercher.
Budget and Finance recommended to defer to the second meeting in October, 14-4, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommended deferral to the second meeting in October, 8 in favor, 0 against, and I so move.
Motion to defer to the second meeting in October is properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-853, Councilman Kendall and Council Lady Allen. Changes 4.75 acres from R6 to SP zoning for various properties located along 33rd Avenue North, 35th Avenue North, Trevor Street, and Delaware Avenue south of Interstate 40 to permit a maximum of 123 residential units. I'm sorry, 123 multifamily units. Councilman Kendall.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended deferral to October 3rd, 11 in favor, 0 against.
I'm going to move deferral, but my intent is to, and I hope I'm doing this right, to have it pass on second. On third, there will be an amendment. I can speak to that.
Can we get the committee report from Planning and Zoning Committee again?
So our understanding was the sponsor wanted to pass tonight and defer third reading. Am I saying this correctly?
Defer to third, back to the planning.
Back to the Planning Committee. So
Okay.
the Planning Committee's report was deferred. We intend to rehear with the amendments.
You're deferring your committee's
We're deferring our committee's
You're
hearing.
not, if you're deferring the bill, it's one thing. I mean, I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Our understanding was that the sponsor would ask to pass it tonight, but would defer the third reading. Am I saying that correctly? Nope.
No.
And simply re-refer it to the committee.
Mr. Jamison, I believe, can explain it.
I had understood the intent was to move approval tonight, but to defer the Planning Committee's consideration that had on their agenda yesterday until before third reading.
That's correct.
So that we could consider the amendment.
That's correct.
Is that consistent with the report from the committee?
To some degree, it was similar to this discussion.
Okay.
And we voted 11 in favor of that.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure that there was not a recommendation from the committee to defer the vote on second reading, because that would be controlling. It would defer that would by rules, and that is not the sense of what the committee intended to do. Is that correct?
I think that's true. The committee intends to hear amendments and to have another chance to vote on this before third reading.
As long as by rule we can hear a motion from the sponsor, he can now move for whatever he wants to move for. So,
but it will be re-referred to the committee.
Right.
That's up to him.
Yeah, I'm going to move to pass on second and re-refer it to the committee.
Okay.
There's a motion to adopt on second reading and to re-refer to the Planning and Zoning Committee on third reading. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. BL 2017-865. Councilman Elrod Freeman and others, amends the Metro Code regarding the Department of Public Works reporting requirements. Councilman Elrod.
Committee reports. I'm the only one.
Yeah, you're the only one on that.
Public Works recommended one meeting deferral, 8 in favor, 0 against, and I'll so move with a brief explanation.
Floor is yours.
There was a request from a council member there's a request about this bill requires Public Works to put together a 3-year plan of the significant projects of what they're doing for the next 3 years. We appropriate millions of dollars in sidewalks, paving, adding roads, extending roads, building new sidewalks, repairing sidewalks. And those are things that are not in the capital spending plan. But I think as far as transparency, accountability, and information to the public and ourselves and how we make decisions on our budget, and in this instance for Public Works, that these kind of things, we need to know what those significant projects are going to be for the next several years. Under this bill, they would need to be, this plan would need to be submitted with the budget every year, and just significant projects, not the filling potholes and that kind of thing, but to get a better understanding of where that threshold needs to be. I'm going to defer it one meeting to get that information from Public Works. So I move for one meeting deferral.
This motion to defer one meeting. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-866, Councilman Anthony Davis and Councilman O'Connell amends the Metro Code pertaining to the presence of intoxicating beverages from a distillery on the premises of a permittee. Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilor Roberts.
Public Safety voted 4 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move approval with a brief comment.
Floor is yours.
Just wanted to say, in case you weren't able to make public safety, what this was about. We are doing a bill where distillery tap rooms and brewery tap rooms could commingle. It's primarily for Yeehaw Brewing downtown. And thank you, Councilmember O'Connell, for jumping on that. But those tap rooms would be able to commingle and coexist between distilleries and breweries. So just a slight tweak in the code. Thank you.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-867, Councilman Syracuse amends Metro Code to address the control of excess vegetation. Councilman Syracuse.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
You're it.
All right. Codes Fair and Farmers Market recommended approval, 3 for, 0 against, and I move approval.
Is there an amendment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, there is. It's a housekeeping amendment, just changing one digit that was off from the first one. So I'd like to move the amendment.
There's a motion to amend. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? You're on your bill as amended.
Thank you. I'd like to move as amended.
Motion to approve is amended. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-868, Council Lady Virtue amends the Metro Code regarding the prosecution for repeat violations of the Property Standards Code. Council Lady Virtue.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Syracuse. I'm sorry. There you go.
Sorry. Codes Fair and Farmers Market voted to approve 3-0. 3-0.
Thank you, Councilman. Council Lady Virtue.
I move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-869, Council Lady Virtue, Allen and Van Reese approves a contract between the Mayor's Office of Economic Opportunity and Empowerment and the United Way of Metro Nashville to provide one-on-one financial counseling and other financial education activities at no charge to low-income residents. Council Lady Virtue.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance recommended 14 for, 0 against, and I move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-870, Council Lady Virtue, Council Lady Allen, declares surplus and authorizes the conveyance of a parcel of property located at 3410 Knight Drive. Council Lady Virtue.
Budget and Finance voted 14 for, 0 against for a 1 meeting deferral, and I move for deferral.
Councilman Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Education voted for 1 meeting deferral, 6 in favor, 0 opposed.
Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended a 1 meeting deferral, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Deferred by rule.
I got excited about the election. Sorry, Vice Mayor.
That's all right.
I didn't ask for committee report.
That's okay. That's good. We got them anyway. That brings us to BL 2017-871, Councilman Glover, Virtue, and others authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the Central Pike improvements. Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Council Lady Virtue.
Budget and Finance recommended approval 14-4, 0 against.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommended approval, 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have a quick question, if I may, for Mr. Jameson, because of the next bill we're going to hear. We're talking about easements here, drainage, et cetera, specifically on Central Pike. The next one, we're going to be talking about some sidewalk issues on Andrew Jackson. I'm interested in trying to maybe put the two together, so my question is simply this. Can these be amended at the next meeting, or do I need to defer in order to try and amend? And I'm sorry, this just kind of happened because of something that's going on with BZA on Thursday, and I'm trying to figure out the way to handle these.
Sure. These are typically not among the Rule 15 bills that can be amended on third. You can always suspend the rules and hope for the charity of your colleagues, or you can defer.
So if I defer, then I'm still within the purview of being able to amend. Okay. Correct. Then I'm going to ask for a 2-meeting deferral.
There's a motion to defer 2 meetings is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-872. Councilman Glover, Virtue, and others authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the Andrew Jackson Parkway sidewalk improvements. Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilor Virtue.
Budget and Finance recommended approval 14-4, 0 against.
Councilor Allen. When you hit the button, it turns you off.
Yes, I know. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommended approval, 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to move for a 2-meeting deferral, please, sir.
Motion to defer 2 meetings is properly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-873, Councilman Hager, Virtue, and others authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the Andrew Jackson Parkway sidewalk improvements. Councilman Hager.
Vice Mayor, can I have a committee report?
Councilor Virtue.
Budget and Finance recommended approval 14-4, 0 against.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommended approval, 8 in favor, 0 against.
Move for passage.
It's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-874, Councilor Roberts, Virtue, and others authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the Annex Avenue sidewalk improvements. Councilor Roberts.
Committee reports, please.
Councilor Virtue.
Budget and Finance recommended approval 14-4, 0 against.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommended approval, 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilor Roberts.
I'd like to move for approval, please.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-875, Councilman Hastings, Virtue, and others authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for the purposes of the John Millette Drive sidewalk improvements. Councilman Hastings.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would like to move for committee report, please.
Councilor Virtue.
Budget and Finance recommended approval 14-4, 0 against.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommended approval, 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Hastings.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I would like to move for approval.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-876, Council Lady Dowell, Virtue, and others authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for the purposes of the Mount View Road sidewalk improvements. Council Lady Dowell.
Committee report.
Council Lady Virtue.
Budget and Finance recommended approval 14-4, 0 against.
Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommended approval, 8 in favor, 0 against.
Council Lady Dowell, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I move for approval.
The motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I'm not sure what that was. BL 2017-877, Councilman O'Connell, Elrod, and Allen authorizes Nashville Music Row Hotel Owner, LLC to install, construct, and maintain underground encroachments in the right-of-way located at 1 Music Square West. Councilman O'Connell.
I'm sorry, Mr. Vice Mayor, you've used the balance of your time. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to request committee reports, please.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman O'Connell.
I'd like to move approval, please.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-878 abandons an existing sewer main and easements and accepts a new sewer main, sanitary sewer manhole, fire hydrant, and easements for property located at 704th Avenue North. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to request committee reports, please.
Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 8 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval, please.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-879, Councilman Withers, Elrod, and Allen abandons existing combined sewer line and easements and accepts new combined sewer and water lines, combined sewer manholes, new fire hydrant, and any associated easements for property located at 809 Main Street. Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to request committee reports, please.
Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 8 in favor, 0 against.
There you go. Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to request approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-880, Councilman Scott Davis, Elrod, and Allen abandons a portion of Richardson Avenue right-of-way. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Potts.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Traffic and Parking voted to approve 4-4, 0 against.
Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move for approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-881, Councilman Kendall, Elrod, and Allen abandons a portion of alley number 925 right-of-way and easement. Councilman Kendall.
Committee report, please.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Potts.
Traffic and Parking voted to approve 4-4, 0 against.
Councilman Kendall.
Move approval.
It's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-882, Councilman O'Connell, Elrod, and Allen abandons a portion of Lee Avenue and alley number 114 right-of-way. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval. Oh, actually, sorry. I'd like to request committee reports.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Elrod.
Public Works recommend approval, 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Potts.
Traffic and Parking voted to approve 4-4, 0 against.
Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Now I'd like to move approval, please.
Motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to bills on third reading. Bill 2017-700, Councilman Scott Davis, changes .49 acres from RS6 to SP zoning for property located at 1021 Elvira Avenue to permit up to 6 residential units. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Davis.
Move for approval.
The motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-703, Councilman Scott Davis, changes .82 acres from CS and OR20 to RM20A zoning for property located at 107 and 109 Queen Avenue. Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Davis.
Move for approval, please, sir.
Motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-759, Councilman Hastings, changes .47 acres from R8 to IWD zoning for property located at 2923 Church Pike. Councilman Hastings.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Would like to move for a committee report, please.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Hastings.
Would like to move for approval.
The motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-796, Councilman Kendall, Councilor Allen, changes 0.18 acres from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 2401 Alameda Street. Councilman Kendall. I'm sorry, Councilman, there you go. There you go.
Committee report, please.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zone, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Kendall.
Move approval.
It's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Councilman, BL 2017-821, Councilman Scott Davis changes 0.21 acres from MULA to SP zoning for property located at 2525 Gallatin Avenue to permit up to 9 multifamily units and up to 2,000 square feet of commercial space. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zone, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Davis.
Move for approval, please, sir.
This motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-835, Councilor Murphy, Councilman Sledge, amends the Metro Code to require signs posted by building and demolition permit holders for projects in excess of a certain amount to include information regarding times during which work can be performed and certain noise levels which can be emitted. Councilor Murphy.
With all committee reports in, I'd like to move for approval, please.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, inside joke there. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-843, Councilman Scott Davis. Changes 1.93 acres from IWD to RM28 zoning for property located at 818, 822, 824, and 826 Cherokee Avenue. Councilman Scott Davis.
Committee reports, please.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zone, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilor Davis.
I'd like to walk the plank, move for approval, please, sir.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-844, Councilman Kendall, Councilor Allen, changes 0.40 acres from R6 to RM28, zoning for property located at 517 DB Todd Jr. Boulevard. Councilman Kendall.
Committee report, please.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zone, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Kendall.
Move approval.
It's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-845, Councilman Leonardo. Applies 112.8 acres of an urban design overlay district for properties located at Clarksville Pike, north of the intersection of West Hamilton Avenue and Clarksville Pike. Councilman Leonardo.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This time I'd like to move the substitute.
There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Let's get our committee report on the substitute, on this bill as substitute. Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zone, Historical, recommended approval of the bill as substituted, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Leonardo.
Move for approval.
Motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-846, Councilman Mendez changes 1.46 acres from AR2A to RS40 zoning for property located at 5994 Mount View Road. Councilman Mendez. Sorry. There you go, sir.
Committee report, please.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Move approval.
It's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-847, Councilman Hastings changes 0.42 acres from R10 to SP zoning for property located at 3219 Alpine Avenue to permit 2 family residential uses with a maximum of 4 units. Councilman Hastings.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee report, please.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical, recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Hastings.
I'd like to move for approval.
It's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-848, Council Lady Mina Johnson amends 56.84 acres of a specific plan for property located at Pettis Road Unnumbered, east of Lacebark Drive, to permit the use of a brick, stone, cement board, cultured stone, and/or wood on 100% of the front facade and side facade of the buildings. Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report, please.
Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to make you sure Councilmember Bettner would like me to move for approve, not disapproval. So I would like to move for approval, please.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-849, Councilman Scott Davis. Changes 0.22 acres from RS5 to R6 zoning for property located at 900 Oneida Avenue. Councilman Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval of the bill as substituted, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Davis.
I'd like to move for approval, please, sir.
Do you need to move a substitute?
I apologize. I'd like to move the substitute also.
Okay, there's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You okay? Okay. You're now on your bill as substituted. Is there a motion to approve as substituted?
Please amend as substitute, please, sir.
All right. There's a motion to approve as substituted. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-851, Council Lady Dowell, amends 74.00 acres of a specific plan for properties located at Cane Ridge Road, unnumbered, located between Cane Ridge Road and I-24 to amend signage standards. Council Lady Dowell.
I believe our committee reports are in.
Do we have a new one
No,
from planning?
Planning, zoning, I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's fine.
Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Council Lady. Councilman Lady Dowell.
Thank you. I move for approval.
This motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-855, Councilman Sledge, amends 0.95 acres of a specific plan district for properties located at 1267 and 1271 3rd Avenue South to permit a mixed-use development. Councilman Sledge. Sorry, there you go, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Move for approval.
Motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-856, Councilman Leonardo cancels 29.24 acres of a planned unit development overlay district for property located at 698 Putnam Drive. Councilman Leonardo.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Move approval.
This motion to approve. I'm sorry, let's get our committee reports. Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, and Historical recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
This time I'd like to move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-858, Council Lady Blaylock changes 5.8 acres from R6 and RM9 to RM15, zoning for properties located at Woodson Street, unnumbered, and 400 Adamwood Drive. Council Lady Blaylock.
Thank you. Committee reports, please.
Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, Historical recommended approval, 11 in favor, 0 against.
Council Lady Blaylock.
Thank you. Move for approval, please.
This motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. BL 2017-859, Councilman O'Connell amends the Metro Code pertaining to telecommunication facilities. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to request committee reports, please.
Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I will say for the last time, Planning, Zoning, and Historical recommended approval as substituted, 11 in favor, 0 against. Thank you for letting me serve in this position.
Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval of the brief comment.
Is there a substitute on this one?
As substitute, I think, did we already do that? Maybe I need to move the substitute. We did vote on, yeah, I guess I do need to move the substitute here. We've got it separate, so yeah, I'll move the substitute, please.
There's a motion to substitute. It's properly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You're on your bill as substituted.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval of the brief comment.
Floor is yours.
I would like to thank Chair Lady Allen for her hard work and dedication as Chair of the Planning, Zoning, and Historical Committee. And I look forward to the next election, but have enjoyed working with her in that capacity as a member of that committee. Thank you, Chair Lady.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-860, Councilor Allen and others, amends the Metro Code to modify the eligibility requirements for the Blighted Property Grant Program and to establish an historic preservation grant program. Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Are there any committee reports on this one?
There are not.
Okay, then I move approval.
Are you sure?
No, I have been looking at the wrong place, so hold on.
I think this is one where there's
This
a late
is
amendment.
860.
Is there a late amendment?
There was a late amendment, but we have moved to defer that. I apologize. I moved to defer one meeting.
There's a motion to defer. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Council Lady. Bill 2017-861, Council Lady Van Rees, Pridemore, and others, amends the Metro Code to address procedures for the sole source procurement of public art projects, products, and services. Council Lady Van Rees.
Our committee reports?
They're all in.
They're all in. With that, I move approval.
There's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-862, Council Lady Allen, Elrod, and others. Well, just the two of you. Authorizes ECG Belcourt LLC to construct and maintain aerial and underground encroachments in the right-of-way located at 2111 Belcourt Avenue. Council Lady Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Move approval.
This motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-863. Councilman O'Connell, Allen, and Elrod authorizes LMV Tower Holdings LLC to construct, install, and maintain underground and aerial encroachments in the right-of-way located at 818 19th Avenue South. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval, please.
Motion to approve is properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 2017-864, Councilman O'Connell, Allen, and Elrod authorizes Simpson Housing LLLP and affiliates to install, construct, and maintain underground encroachments in the right-of-way located at 111 17th Avenue South. Councilman O'Connell. Oops.
Sorry, I turned myself off. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval.
It's a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilman Elrod, did you need to be, are you recognized on that bill? Councilman Elrod, the motion carries to approve on that bill. Go ahead.
In honor of Talk Like a Pirate Day, I move to adjourn.
In honor of...
Lacking a second, I'll acknowledge. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.